Hello, everybody. Thank you for watching this session. I'm with my great friend Trevor Murphy, and together we published this book recently, Wit and Wisdom. And the subheading is 42 Insightful Stories and Playful Illustrations for Cultivating Mindfulness and Reflection. And for today's little video, we wanted to just share the story because people love stories, and I thought it'd be nice to share the story of how we came about to put this book together. Um, I can't remember too much, but I do remember that we did an Instagram challenge. Uh, so how did was it on
It
one of our
was,
walks that we had the idea? Can you remember?
I think it was on one of our walks, Shamash, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was definitely, I'm glad to say it was your idea. So,
It was my fault.
and you thought it would be really lovely to do something special for the summer solstice.
Yes.
And you came up with the 42-day challenge
I,
as your number. I'm sure all your followers know the significance to you of 42,
yeah.
and it's also significant to me.
Yeah.
That is a story in itself,
That's a
isn't it?
story in itself. Yeah.
How 42 links and how we both recognize signs,
Yeah.
and that you came up with the idea of creating one cartoon and one story a day for 42 days
Yeah. So
from
I
the
guess
solstice.
you've been just kind of getting into drawing cartoons in the last 2 or 3 years, right? And
Yes,
then and I think
we
maybe you shared with me it's kind of sometimes you do a few and then it stops and you'd like to kind of get into the flow of it. And
yes, yeah, that's right.
we have these walks every Wednesday where we walk in Kenwood House Park. And so I think maybe the idea
Mm.
came from that. It'd be like, why don't we love the kind of the summer solstice and the spring solstice. Are they
Yeah,
called
yeah,
solstice, the spring and summer and autumn? Do they call them all solstice as well?
yeah. Well, it's either the equinox. You have the solstices, which are the winter solstice, which is December the
Oh, yeah.
21st usually, and the summer solstice
Yeah,
on the 21st of June. And then you have the equinox, the spring and autumn
I
equinox
see.
in
Yeah,
March and September.
yeah, yeah. And they're interesting days because of the March equinox is linked to International Happiness Day, United Nations.
Absolutely.
And the autumn equinox is linked to Peace Day,
International Day of Peace.
International Day of
Exactly. They're
Peace.
they're both pretty well
And now the
synchronized.
summer solstice, I think it's Yoga Day. It's been announced to be.
International, it's absolute.
Yeah.
In fact, it's locked into the 21st of June because they obviously for the United Nations they have to fix on a day, and
Yeah.
the solstice can be on the 20th, 21st, or 22nd. But basically, it
Right.
was tied in with the summer
Yeah.
solstice, which is
Yeah.
highly appropriate for yoga
Yeah.
followers. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So we had this idea of you doing a cartoon every day and then I coming up with just something to share. I didn't actually know what. Maybe it would be a quote
Mm,
or a story or something that could go with the cartoon. And
that's right.
actually, from what I remember, you were not actually feeling that well. You weren't 100%,
Yes,
but you still
I
managed to
got.
do it, which is
I
impressive.
seem to have got struck down. I think. I'm not sure if I officially got COVID or if I can't remember if I officially tested myself, but it was
It was like
pretty certain
flu-like symptoms, was it?
COVID. Yeah, and but yeah, no, I, in fact, in a way, it was fine because I obviously had to isolate myself, so it worked out quite well.
Yeah,
But I
isolate yourself with pen and paper.
had time to do the drawings,
Yeah,
and yeah, which was actually yeah. So I got off to a good start because I
yeah,
actually felt that I'd like to get a few ahead of myself. I didn't. I although I like the idea of doing one a day, I also like the idea of being ahead of myself. So if one day I was too busy or didn't feel inspired, that it wouldn't be a problem.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
And then how
but
did
that
you come up? How did you come up with the ideas? Would you be thinking about it all day, or would it just come in the moment when you
no
start
no no
drawing?
no.
How do you
I
do
mean,
it?
sometimes I would get an idea when I was just going about day to day life. Sometimes an idea would pop into my head. But quite frankly, this is something that I don't think is unique to me. But when you just sit down and you create that space in which to be creative, and whatever it may be, so whether it's for me a cartoon or an illustration or a story, because I write stories, um, in fact I've been amazed with the stories that I've been doing. I've been doing a story a week for this well-being workshop that I run. And I'm amazed how sometimes I'll have no ideas whatsoever. And then I'll just sit down, and then it's almost like a bolt of lightning. An idea will just come to me. And that happened for the cartoons. I mean, I hardly ever would not get an idea. And sometimes the idea would be I would think this is just a brilliant idea, and I'd be so pleased. And then other times I think maybe it's a bit forced. But nevertheless, I would pretty well always get an idea. And it's the same for birthday cards and things like that. But it's about creating space, because so often people say, well, I just don't get any ideas, or I haven't got the motivation or whatever. But if you actually just sit down for 5 minutes and release everything else, release all other thoughts, and you just focus on creating whatever it might be, I find it's like allowing a channel, as that you're creating a portal, and then the ideas just seem to flow through.
Wow.
I mean, how is it for you, Shamash? Is it the same for you with your story? How does it?
Yeah, it doesn't come in a flash so much, but for the stories, the great thing is that I had these different images that you'd created, these different drawings, and so there was already a theme there. So I'd look at it,
and
then I don't know what's coming to mind at the moment is the funny cartoon you did, Keep Off the Grass, and there's somebody smoking some grass, and I think they might be standing on grass as well. So yeah, so I'd look at that, and then obviously it's a funny little drawing. And then I would think about the themes that cartoon is linked with. So okay, what themes with it, and how does it overlap with mindfulness or wisdom or compassion or any of the things that I teach? And then if there's any hint of an overlap, then I at the beginning I was giving information, but then I kind of leaned towards stories is much better. And then I leaned towards either stories, other people's stories, but it ended up being more my own stories because obviously I know them better.
Yes.
and then I also leaned towards maybe things I haven't shared before, or things that actually were quite challenging or difficult, and the journey I went through to try and overcome that challenge, and the lessons I learned from it. Then afterwards, I do love linking things to research. So sometimes I linked it to certain research papers, or finished with a little quote or something from someone well known. So that was the process for me, and it was a pleasure to receive them, because I had to do them. I think you did start to give them a bit in advance after a while as you got into the flow of it as well. So that made it a little bit easier, because although it's a nice idea to do one a day, there's a weird pressure that comes with it.
Yes, that's right.
It's nice to do it one a day, or even more than one a day, but it's nice to know that there's already some in the bank, isn't there?
That's right, some in the bank.
Takes the tension off it. Yeah. So I always say
that's a good way of expressing it.
Yeah.
But what I'm really pleased about, and I think that it's something we both spoke about, is that we've co-created a light-hearted look at mindfulness, and I'm really, really happy about that. And I feel there's a lot more potential for taking this path, because although I'm very happy reading what I'll call serious mindfulness books by serious authors, but let's say, for example, I mean, two of my favorites are Eckhart Tolle and then the Dalai Lama. Now, Eckhart Tolle actually has a fantastic sense of humor, even though he's German, which we all know classically. He won't mind me saying this. There's, even though he's German, he has a fantastic, very dry sense of humor, and that comes across in his writing. And then obviously the Dalai Lama has an incredible sense of humor.
Yes.
And I always found I related more to wisdom that was coming from a lighter kind of perspective. I found it more enjoyable, more easier to digest, easier to sort of absorb. And if I can speak scientifically for a moment, so it's well known that laughter creates the highest vibration. apparently even greater than love. If we look at love and laughter as being of a very high vibration, apparently laughter
Wow.
is even higher. It's like considered to be the highest vibration.
Yeah.
Now, there's a wonderful man that is called Patch Adams, who's a doctor, trained as a doctor.
Oh, yes.
And he uses laughter for healing. He's created an incredible hospital in America.
Yeah.
There's a very good movie. Anyone watching this, there's a wonderful movie with Robin Williams starring as Patch Adams.
Yeah.
I think the movie's just called Patch Adams, if I remember.
I think it is, yeah. Brilliant.
I think
film.
it's just the title.
Outstanding film, yeah.
An outstanding film. Tells the true story of this doctor who decided to work outside of the system because he felt it was too restricting, and he dressed up as a clown and went around the world making people laugh. And he found that people were cured much faster through laughter.
Yes.
So he's now created this hospital. Anyone anywhere in the world can go to this hospital free of charge anytime with any ailment, any ailment from anywhere in the world, free of charge.
Yeah.
And he uses laughter to help bring about healing.
So laughter can be, so laughter links with healing and with mindfulness. Really,
laughter can be so. I really think there's a lot. I'm very excited about the idea of working with you more, Shamash, to kind of to focus on the laughter aspect. So there's still a serious message within the material, but it's the way it's delivered, and I just feel that it's certainly something I'm doing with the children. So I've created my own mindfulness curriculum for children, and I use humour in that very much as a way of engaging the children. And I find it's very effective, because if you can make a child laugh, then you've kind of won them over. You've gained their confidence, gained their trust. They basically immediately like you. They form an attachment to you because you're making them laugh. And then it's as if they're then open, as if they're then very open to any wisdom or thoughts or ideas that then come forth. And so I think I was really pleased when you came up with the idea, Shamash, and I feel, I mean, already the comments I've had from people are that they very much enjoy the combination of the cartoons and the stories, because your stories are also light-hearted. They're not, they're not dense. But there is, as the title says, there's wit and wisdom within hopefully each story, and also within each. I'd like to think within each of my cartoons, there's actually, although they make you laugh, there's also, I very much hope, a serious message within the very short, simple joke. For the one that comes to mind is the joke about the two parents with the two mum and dad bird and a little bird in the middle. And one parent says to the other, "I'd like to introduce you to your inner child."
Oh, yeah.
And the little child is jumping around and being very playful and happy. And that's something that there's a hugely serious message within that, because we can often take life too seriously once we become adults, and we have responsibilities, and we have to look after our children. We maybe work in a very stressful business, and we can lose touch with our inner child. And that's, I think, something that's very, very important. So I like to think that little joke might stir a few people into, thinking about their relationship with their inner child.
Inner child. I think you're absolutely right. Yes. I never thought of it in terms of the kind of the funniness also has a seriousness to it. But another classic that we put on the back of the book as well is Slow Academy with two snails, and can't you go any slower, Simpson? One says to the other.
I love it.
And see, that's there's so much wisdom to there, right? Because of there's that competitive spirit and that sense of being in an academy and trying to be faster. But instead of trying to be faster, what happens if you switch it around? Can't you go slower? And actually, that's harder for most people than going faster, right?
Absolutely. In fact, funnily enough, I don't think it came from, I don't think the joke came from it, but maybe subliminally it did. Where when I was taking my cycle proficiency test, so we were all encouraged to learn how to ride our bikes safely when we were children. So there was a government-run child, cycle safety scheme, and I remember that one of the exercises was to show control of your bike was to ride the bike as slowly as you possibly could without it falling over, without losing balance. And luckily I had a small wheel bike where everyone else had a sort of racing bike. I had the smaller wheels, so it meant it was easier to go slower. So I won that particular competition. But it was actually.
So do you think maybe hard. It was a bit of that memory that came through?
Yeah, maybe. I've just thought of that just now. It just came into my mind. And it really was like the slowest person won the competition.
Won the race. Yeah.
So but yes, we're all, as you know, we're all encouraged where we live in a world where everything should happen as fast as possible. And obviously, the main aspect being broadband speed. That we'll pay a lot more money to have a higher broadband speed, which may make only a few milliseconds difference or a few seconds difference when we download a file. But we have to have this. Everything has to be fast. The one that's very obvious is in the financial markets, where trading, and that's very well known that if you can, the faster the technology that's developed to do trading, the more widely used it will be. There's a lot of money to be made in developing.
But then the counter of that is someone like Warren Buffett, who makes very few trades, and I think in his whole life may have bought 10 or 20 stocks, and he says just my favorite length of holding is for the rest of my life once he buys a stock. And he's obviously been a lot more successful than people that are constantly trading every day, buying and selling. He just buys one and that's it. He leaves it once he's decided.
He focuses. It's the quality, and
he spends all of it. He doesn't have a computer. You know that he doesn't have a desktop computer.
Really? I didn't know.
He doesn't even have. He doesn't have. I'm not sure if he has a phone either. Just goes in and reads the newspaper all day.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's fantastic.
So he's a good example of really slowing down completely and much more wise decisions.
It's staying out of the rat race. Even now, even on the way here, on the way to where I am now in the car, I was listening to Radio 4, and there was a little article about this return to the old phones, the flip phones. That the young are wanting to go back to the very simple, basic phones, and they're beginning to recognise that they're being overloaded by their phones through pressure from their phones. I mean, just on that note, did you also hear today that on the 23rd of this month, the government are going to be triggering an alarm that will overcome any phone anywhere in the UK will have an alarm activated. And
was it like a safety, for a safety message?
Test, like the one they did for COVID.
Yeah.
But this will override all systems. It will be a very loud alarm. So they're giving out warnings in advance. Wow. So, but
hopefully they won't use it when there is a sale at Tesco.
Yes. It shows the level of invasion of our space, And this is something that the Slow Academy. It actually the slow movement started in a place called Grava in Italy, in Tuscany, just about an hour away from Florence, and that's where the slow food movement started, which then evolved into the slow, just generally slowing down in life, and that eating locally grown fruit and vegetables, reducing the amount of air miles where that food would be transported.
I see.
So the slow movement is a very detailed sort of philosophy of life that's developed to help us all kind of stay away from the rat race.
Very interesting, but this thing about the flip phones, I find it's fascinating that people and I've heard that the people who work in Silicon Valley often for themselves and their children, they don't buy the latest smartphone because they know how addictive it is as well. So
How to,
they give out. And it's funny because if I did, I always love doing April Fools, and one I did a few years ago was a phone where you can't really do anything with it. You buy the phone and it pretty much does nothing. I think maybe it could send text more, or maybe not even that. It's just
maybe
it
not
does
even
very
that.
little as possible. And actually, I did it as a joke, but then I think such a phone exists now, something or
That's right.
something very close,
Wasn't
where you just hold this. I don't know what it's basically a little brick. Is
wasn't
such a thing?
Calvin
Have you heard about that?
wasn't Calvin involved with developing an app? He had the idea to develop an
The
app, didn't he?
box. There's a.
The
I've actually no.
box.
That was a
Yeah,
box
a
where you put your
box, but
phone in
wasn't
and you put a
you
timer
put
on.
the phone in? That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I've
Yeah.
actually got one. It's actually
You've
really
got
good.
one,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
I got one recently, and I put a
Yeah.
phone in. You put it a timer on for however long it stays locked for,
And
and
that's
it's quite interesting actually. Sometimes I might reach for it because I need to check something. I'm like, oh no, I can't. Oh
it's in the
well.
box. It's kind of like it's secured. Is there a
Yeah,
timer on it? And you can't
yeah. There's
put
a
a timer.
timer on it. Yeah.
So you can't. Does that mean you literally can't get to it even in
Well,
an
without
emergency
breaking the box, you can't.
without
No.
breaking the
Yeah,
box?
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, that's such a good idea because
Most people
it's
would
like
like to think out of the box, but in this case,
we can think when the phone is in the box. Yeah. No, I mean, it's like when
yes,
you
exactly. If you want to think out of the box, put the phone in the box.
put the phone in the box, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that's like
yeah,
the joy of the underground used to be that you couldn't get a signal.
yeah,
So you'd feel safe. But even that now is being broken, isn't it? There's certain stations where suddenly your phone bursts into life, you know.
yeah. But there is these things which are counteracting. Like there's another thing I've heard about in concerts where they give you a pouch where you put your
Oh,
phone in
yes,
this
that's
pouch.
right.
You turn it off, you put it in the pouch, and
That's
then
right.
it's just locked and you can't use it, can't take photos or videos. And
Yeah.
then everyone can enjoy the performance. And then
Yes.
afterwards you can switch it back on
Which
again.
is perfect because basically we're probably not aware of it. It would be very, I'm sure there are tests that are being done, but we must, when we have our phone on, there must be a big part of our mind that is continually alert to the
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah.
And it's in a way, it's like, I mean, the analogy I'm thinking of is because when I have my granddaughter come to do sleepovers, is that I know I don't sleep as well when she's staying with me because I'm much more alert in case she wakes up or in case she cries or makes a
Yeah.
noise. And it's a bit like that with the phone. We're always alert to the possibility of a call
That's
that
true.
essentially there could be an urgent call,
Yeah.
it could be an urgent call that someone needs help,
Yeah.
and that's kind of, I mean, I know in my own case, my dad's an actor, and he brought us up to always answer the phone as quickly as possible because it literally could be a job. So we were trained to answer the phone super fast and
Oh,
to
for your dad. Yeah.
for my dad. If my dad wasn't around, if he was out
Okay.
or
Yeah.
if he was out shopping or asleep or who
Yeah.
knows, the phone had to be answered, and and it had to be answered as it were professionally, even when we
Especially.
were very young.
Yeah.
So but we're all attached, aren't we, to the phone like an
Yeah.
umbilical cord, and it's
Yeah.
but as soon as we let go, and that applies beyond the phone, doesn't it? That applies to other things as well,
Other
doesn't it?
things. Yeah.
Actually, like
Yeah.
our thoughts.
Oh, yes.
It's just one aspect.
Can we put our thoughts on a box and put a timer on? That would
Yeah, I
be
mean,
quite good.
that's which is really what meditation is, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
meditation is, in a way, thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's where when we put all our thoughts in a box as well. We
I
try,
love that.
we try to clear space to allow the magic to happen. So it's
Yeah.
kind of it's
Yeah.
interesting, isn't it? So
Yeah. Yeah.
there we go. This is
So
interesting.
yeah, so
Yeah,
it's funny how these different topics that we've gone on to, which is actually ended up writing in this book as
it's
well.
all in there.
It's all in there. Yeah. So, um, I guess to summarize the story, we came up with the
Yeah,
challenge. You did the drawings. I was doing the Instagram stories that went with the cartoons,
yeah.
and we just put them in a book. And then we had a date for a particular book launch, which was close
The
to the spring
21st, the
equinox.
equinox,
Yes, close to the spring
spring
equinox.
equinox. So we matched the
So,
spring equinox. Yeah.
yeah, so that was fun. Um, And yeah, no, just talking to you has re-inspired me to think about more ways of combining this power of humor and laughter and joyfulness and creativity with the mindfulness, because I think they only work when they go together. People,
yes,
I don't think people fully appreciate it. We're kind of naturally attracted to people like Eckhart Tolle and Dalai Lama because of their lightheartedness. But it's really key to the message, actually, the fun aspect.
I really believe that.
Yeah.
As I say, I think I personally love comedy, and I appreciate how important comedy is in my life. And I think when we do, it does create a higher vibration, and we become more receptive to information and knowledge and wisdom. I don't quite know the science behind that, but somehow it's as if we open up, we're more open and available for new information. And
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, maybe just to finish, I'm just remembering from positive psychology, there's a theory called broaden and build. And their theory is that as we increase our well-being and joy and smiles and happiness, the purpose of that is it broadens our attention and helps us to build new connections and to be more creative. And they're trying to think about, what's the evolutionary benefit of, this joy and fun and happiness and all this stuff. And maybe that's it. Like when we're in stress, we need to focus on surviving and getting out of the situation. But when we're in the relaxation response is triggered, it's opening our attention and connecting with others, thinking of new ideas and all that stuff. And that's the skills that we really need to cultivate nowadays. So
I mean, just to an image came to mind, which I might have to put in a cartoon, but because I've got a little dog outside, like a puppy. But when you think of a dog, and especially a puppy, when it trusts you, it rolls over onto its back and allows you to tickle its belly, basically. It kind of wants you. It's like saying, I trust you implicitly, and they do it in the pack as well. And it's part of play, isn't it? And you couldn't be more vulnerable than sort of showing, lying on your back and showing your tummy, and then allowing your tummy to be rubbed. So that's that. In a way, that image shows the power of humor and trust and playfulness, and how and that's when you're at your most open. And
that's a really good point. So physically you end up being more open too, and when people laugh they end up physically more open. Although I sometimes just collapse on the floor because I'm laughing. Anyway, thanks a lot, Trev, for your time today.
Well, thank you, Shamash, and thank you for asking me to work with you on the book.
Absolute pleasure.
Be more pleased.
Absolute pleasure. Yes,
I'm really pleased with the book.
No, congratulations on all your books. Trevor's done about 5 books now. So Trevor Murphy, you can look him up on Amazon.
Thank you, Shamash.
And so we will be back with another book at some point, I'm sure.
We're another book.
book launch. But thanks a lot for watching this.
I promise.
And
thank you.
And feel free to message us if you want to get in touch as well.
Have a great day.
You too. Yes. Bye, everybody.
Bye.